session with Facebook Live. Last week, as a reminder, we did have a great discussion with our police chief, Kenny Winslow, and our fire chief, Alan Riney, on where we're going with regards to the pandemic. How do we keep each other safe, especially as our community, as we move along with regards to our economy. It's all about staying in phase 4 and hopefully moving forward from there. It's been a very challenging time for all of us. This past weekend, we did do spot checks with our inspectors. They visited over 79 restaurants and bars. And the reason for that, that's where we had a lot of cases coming from those particular areas. And as a reminder, what police were looking for and the fire inspectors, signs were posted in the businesses. As they went in, were people socially distant from their tables and seating areas of 6 feet apart, no congregating in open spaces, and the employees were wearing their face coverings over their nose and mouth and doing so properly. And if not, then the inspectors or the police were going to write citations and move in that fashion, because we've been discussing this for a long time. And as we know, there's no vaccine, and the only proven method from keeping us as individuals from spreading it to our loved ones or our neighbors or people we come in contact with is keeping our social distance of 6 feet or wearing the face coverings. And so that's what it's all about. Especially, we all want to keep our economy going and thriving and working together as one. And that's what's important for all of us. So of those 79 establishments that were visited, actually none of them were cited. So we appreciate everybody's diligence. We do ask the general public to continue to be mindful of one another and do wear your face coverings when you are in public, regardless of your philosophical belief. We should all believe in the plain, simple fact that we want to remain healthy. And I don't know one person, when they come in contact with someone that has the flu, that they come running up to them. Usually you don't. And so this is one way that you can make sure you don't get sick or somebody else does not get sick, by keeping your distance and wearing your face coverings, and move forward in that direction. So we appreciate it. And this today's session is going to be very exciting for myself. It's on education. And as you know, some of you know, I come from a large family. I have 7 sisters, 5 brothers. Of my sisters, all of them were in teaching at some point in time of their life. My mother was a teacher, and so it's near and dear to my life, or my heart. And what's been challenging for all of us, doesn't matter what profession you're in, but how do we keep one another safe? How do we continue to keep the services going with the ones that need it? And our greatest asset in our community, or any community, is our people. And our greatest above them are our young people. And how do we keep them safe? How do we keep them growing in a healthy environment? And really, it's important for each and all the adults out there that we really are good role models to our children, to their friends, and act like we would, like our parents did. You know, I come from a father, he was a World War II veteran. We call that the greatest generation. And they were, because they rose to the occasion of the World War II, where we had a divisive world. We had a very divisive time in their lives, and they rose to that occasion. And this is a different type of war, you know, but this is the coronavirus is taking us places none of us had expected. It's really divided the world. It's divided the country in some fashion. And it's important for us as adults to rise up to the challenge that our mothers and fathers had risen up to, the greatest generation, and live up to their value system of respect and honoring one another. And that's what it's all about, getting through this pandemic. And we can do so because how we act as adults will play through for generations to come, because we are impacting our young children, and how they see the adults act is how they're going to act as well. So it starts at home. It's important that the parents are those good role models. Practice your cognizant health behaviors in the house, and that will carry out into outside the doors. So it's important that we reinforce what we want outside the doors, inside the house, and we appreciate everybody's help in doing that. So for everyone watching and joining this session, it's not to debate what learning model is better or whether parents should send their children back to the classroom or keep them at home. This session is a way to keep our community informed about the work that has been taking place, often behind the scenes by our schools, the challenges they are facing, and things they are considering on next steps. A pandemic is a time to come together. It is a time we need to look after our neighbors even before COVID-19. Our schools not only educate our children, but also teach them life lessons, including respect and compassion for one another. This is what we want to carry on to all our families and residents moving forward. It is a challenging time for all of us. We understand everyone has differing opinions, but we ask that everyone remember to respect one another, and let's keep each other healthy and work together for a better community moving forward. So with that, it gives me great honor. I'll give a brief introduction, but I'd ask each person if they'd share their own introduction if they would, because I know each person in different capacities. And then if you would also share the challenges you're facing with your particular organization, and we'll go from there. And as a reminder, people can send in their questions via chat, or if you didn't think of something, want to send it in via email, you can do so at feedback@springfield.il.us. That's our website. But the first person, because of the time crunch, I'm going to introduce is Tiffany Mathis. And Tiffany is the executive director of the Boys and Girls Club. She's done great work. She's been very involved in young people's lives. And for her, as far as being in touch with young people, it's gone on during summertime. How do you juggle summer activities at the Boys and Girls Club, and then moving forward with after-school programs, what transpires? But in her off time, she is also a parent and a school district board member. So we appreciate your leadership with regards to that. And I did ask Tiffany to share with us her perspective with regards to the Boys and Girls Club specifically, because I think that's important, because whatever happens, whatever schools decide to do, and I will quote Dr. Fosh here, kind of synthesize what he said, it's all up to the local individuals. And we have a great set of leadership in our educational system. It doesn't matter what school you go to, because it really comes down to the child and the effort one puts in. That's what you get out of the educational value. So we appreciate Tiffany sharing her insights from the Boys and Girls Club perspective, and we'll go from there. So Tiffany?
Yes, Mayor Langfelder, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here today. And when it comes to Boys and Girls Clubs, I think it's very important to highlight that we are in 9 locations in Springfield right now. We have our standalone club site on 15th Street, and then we're in 8 school buildings throughout the school year, and we normally would be providing after-school program there. Initially we did close our doors to in-person serving in March when the shelter-in-place order took place, because nobody really knew what was going on. As the summer months started to emerge and daycares were reopening and we were moving through the phases, there was an immensely large cry out because daycares were only, performing at, or serving rather, in like half their capacity. So you had a lot of people who had no summer options for their school age kids. So we decided, and our board was very supportive of, hey, given all the information that we know, there are other clubs that remained open even during the shutdown. What can we do to best serve youth with the information that we have? So we decided to reopen our doors June 29th. We reduced our capacity to 30 kids. We usually would have had 125 in the summer, to make sure that the measures we were going to put in place worked, and they did. And that's not to brag by any means. I don't consider, coronavirus a joke at all. But what I will say is we limited who came into our buildings. We performed temperature checks 4 times a day. We supported our staff in staying home if they've been on vacation, getting tested, and really pushing that. And we did very well this summer with no reported positive cases in our building during our entire opening. We've now since closed our summer program down to reemerge this school district, or this school year, for the school district and for our standalone club site. When it comes to barriers right now, all I really see as a barrier is funding and the capacity to serve more students than we probably would have during the school year, because we serve anywhere from 900 to 1,300 kids a day total if all of our sites are at full capacity. So we have a desire to continue to support the community, because we know the need for those supports and working families is real, and it's not going to go away. And there are probably going to be a lot more businesses that will be deemed essential this go around than there were when we had to immediately shut down. So really the main barrier for us is going to be accessing enough funding so that we could either open more satellite sites that wouldn't be covered by some of the grants that we already have available to us, finding alternative spaces in the community to serve kids socially distant, and just continue to support as much as we can. We've decided we're not closing, and we will follow and continue to work with the health department. If there should be a positive case, we'll close down, we'll clean, we'll reopen. But I would just say for us, it's just the capacity to have enough funds that if we should find ourselves in a remote only situation, our plan is to stay open full day from 7:30 in the morning to 5:30, 6 o'clock at night, to continue to support families, whether they chose hybrid, or everybody's remote. So funding really is our largest barrier. We've already decided as an organization how we're going to move forward.
Yeah, that's a couple good points there. So follow up real quick. One is with regards to the funding, normally you rely on grants, of course, contributions, which have been difficult and challenging. On the grant side of things, has the bureaucracy of those been expedited, or what's your, kind of your perception of that, or is there room for improvement, or what's your thoughts?
So I would definitely say that I've seen it in kind of both viewpoints. On one hand, you've had some of our grants, whether it be Illinois State Board of Education grants that fund our 21st century locations, have allowed some of those funds to roll over from last school year into this school year, to help address, hey, you weren't able to open, but this is how you can continue to utilize those dollars. There have been grant opportunities who have opened up for those of us who are still open. There's childcare grant opportunities to help address some places, because we are technically a license exempt childcare facility at Boys and Girls Club as well. So I definitely would say that this has been a year we've been very grateful as an organization to see these grant opportunities be options for us. Not that they're all accessible by us, but they definitely are there. And I think that in addition to donations dwindling, we've also seen an uptick in donors being much more specific with the things that matter to them. So when you've decided as an organization or a business how you're going to move forward, I think that that's spoken to a lot of donors directly to say, I care about feeding people, or I care about kids having a safe place to be during the school year. Or I care about whatever organizations have kind of decided to pivot to become, because there's a lot of places that are operating differently than they had previously to address and meet the need. So I do think that those donations are going to come back in an upswing. You're going to see a lot more sponsorships coming as businesses even start to recognize, hey, we need to figure out how we can keep our employees working because they've got kids that need to learn. So I would definitely say that we've been blessed in having access to the grants that we've had. We're always seeking more opportunities, more partnerships, and ways to collaborate with other nonprofit organizations in Springfield to figure out how we can all collectively continue to meet this need. We're always seeking that.
Yeah, no, one real quick question since you have to bow out at around 12:30. Have you seen the need for flexibility in scheduling hours? Because I know people work different hours, things of that nature. And as an employer, that's one of the challenges we're up against is what do the workers, the employees do in these situations when they're called upon, or their schedules might change for that particular need of taking care of the child.
Yeah, and so that's why we know we've been trying to seek funding, even in a hybrid situation and remote only, where we could open our doors full day, 7:30 in the morning to 6 at night, because you're talking about supporting hybrid kids when they would be on their off days. And, they have those alternating schedules. And even at our main club site, we've also recognized that there are parents who chose remote, and that's wonderful, but wanted their kid to be at the club, remotely. So we're trying to respect that families are making really tough decisions, and we're trying to do our best to address that. And I really want to give some kudos and shout out to MB Heating and Cooling. I don't know if anybody has seen their Facebook post, but I thought it was so cool to see that they as a company recognize they've got employees who need to work. So we're going to hire someone to come on board and sit with those children during their school day online so they can continue to learn and their employees can continue to come to work. And I'm not saying that everyone has the capability to do
Mm-hmm.
so. But what I am saying is it's really encouraging in the Springfield community to see that employers are getting it and they understand and they want to make sure that their employees feel supported. And it makes a lot of sense. So those that can, we just need to pitch in and do the best that we can to try to meet the need. But I'm just really encouraged by seeing that. And again, I don't mean to single them out as the only employer who's got that train
Mm-hmm.
of thought, but I just think it's beautiful to see that people are trying. We're all trying as a community to do our best to get through this time. And there's no perfection in any of it. We're just all doing our best. And I commend Jennifer Gill and her cabinet and the administrators and everybody for really trying to work through that. It's a really large thing. So I would be remiss not to mention, Springfield Park District, YMCA,
Mm-hmm.
Urban League. There's so many of us
Mm-hmm.
who are trying to figure out how we can continue those services.
Yeah, we'll probably have a session on that at a later date, but appreciate you sharing that insight because I think it's important and it does dovetail into the conversation with regards to education. It's just not in the classroom, it's outside the classroom, and appreciate what the Boys and Girls Club does. And if we do get questions that we can't answer, we'll be sure to get those answers from you and share them with everybody. So we appreciate you joining us. Next is Jennifer Gill, Superintendent. I first got to know Jennifer back in 2015. I believe that's when she came on as superintendent. It was a difficult time for the school district. They were not going in the best of directions, but she really righted the ship. She instilled trust into District 186, really raised the level of professionalism, and we really thank her for what she's done for our community. So Jennifer, if you'd like to do a self-introduction of any type and share with us the challenges you faced, especially with the upcoming school year and moving that direction.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Langfelder, and everybody else that's on this call. I respect you so greatly for what we're doing together to try to serve the students in our community. I would think that all of us would start off by saying this has been the hardest time we've ever had in our careers. This is a disaster of its own making. I talked to all of my administrative team this morning, and I stated that if we would have a disaster, as we usually call a disaster, like a natural disaster, a tornado, we would jump to and be able to say we're going to do whatever we can overnight. We're going to put our best foot forward. But this kind of a disaster or kind of a life-altering experience has not been felt by any of us. There's no bookshelf that we can turn to grab a book to tell us how to operate in these times. So as superintendent, this is my 7th year, and it's been the most unique for sure. So I think one thing you asked me to kind of give the landscape. We have around 13,000 to 13,500 students that we serve at 33 different school sites, and that's all from our youngest learners that are 3 years old all the way to our adult education learners that we serve in our system. So we have a lot of different facets that we're trying to navigate. Over the summer, the Teachers Union, Springfield Education Association came alongside members of our cabinet and our teaching and learning team at the district level to form a 186 Learns collaborative team to really think about all of the issues that we needed to face. And it's a very multifaceted situation that we dealt with. We have to think about safety and how we enter the school buildings, how we're serving our students and our faculty to make sure that their health needs are met. Those, of course, have a lot of human resource implications to them. This virus is something that we continue to learn about daily, and it seems to change daily on how we address the health needs of not only of our students, but our employees. And we also know that the social emotional effects of this crisis have been extremely obvious as we start to grow and learn and understand how we're going to need to serve our students. So we had a whole committee that came around safety and security, teaching and learning, and all of the facets that need to be thought about and how to deliver instruction differently. All of our social emotional learning components. But then we had also things like how do we deal with our most precious learners that are our 3 and 4-year-olds coming in? How do we deal with our students that have disabilities and serve their needs through their individual education plans? How do we deliver food service on a daily basis, not only during the closure in the spring, throughout the summer, and now as we head into the school year? How we provide safe transportation with social distancing and temperature checks and wellness checks as they enter the bus? And then how do we communicate all of these things out on a regular basis? It's hard not to fall down on one note each and every day. It's hard to address all of the barriers that we face. And it's also a thing where we get new information each and every day. So I just thank the community for your support and your understanding and your patience as we try to do what's right as we move forward. I heard a good quote the other day, and you asked if I had a guiding principle, and this is what it sort of has come down to, is that there is no decision that will be perfect in the eyes of all. There is no decision that I can make that everybody is going to agree with or think is the right thing at the right time. But I do know that we've made all of our decisions thoughtfully and in concert with others so that we can make the best decision as we move forward. To all of Tiffany's comments about serving our students in the best way we possibly can, I have felt a very amazing outpouring of the community, whether it's people that have formed Facebook pages to help deliver meals, whether it's using our local food pantries or our small community pantries that you see popping up around the community, whether or not you see volunteers that are actually picking up food and taking it out to people that they know don't have transportation. We have had community outpouring from, all of our different organizations that serve our students. We have our Project Scope that is an independent after school care program and day program during the summer that has been operating much like Tiffany described her 21st Century program. And all of those will continue no matter what model District 186 is operating under, whether it be remote or a hybrid remote model as we enter the school year. And as we continue throughout the school year, our goal will be to inch back closer to getting our kids back in person as fully as we possibly can. But we also know that some of these things are out of our control. So it's just a day-to-day and things that we continue to look at our community responsibility to analyze the data and make the best decisions.
Yeah, I appreciate that quote. It reminds me, especially in government, I've run into this where you almost, in government, you almost get an analysis paralysis where everybody's afraid to make a decision, especially during the pandemic. And really what we try to do is gather as much information as possible. You make the decision based on the information at hand. And with the virus, we all know information's changed from day to day. So you're trying to, it's fluid. So you're trying to make these decisions as we move along. The one challenge or one thing specific to you, Jennifer, is with other cities, like Chicago, the mayor is in charge of the school district. Thankfully, here I am not. And so, because I cannot imagine how difficult of a task you have to try to coordinate all the teachers, all the, dealing with the families, but all the schools. And then in the middle of it, you were right in the middle of trying to kick off a large capital campaign with regards to construction projects, things of that nature. So if you could just shed a little light on that challenge to itself and how you've managed to try to wrap your arms around it.
Well, I'm not bored, never bored, always have something going on. Doing a lot of work via Zoom, actually. So we have not forgotten our capital plan and our facilities plan whatsoever, and we know that that's important to our community. This summer, the primary work has been done, with the architectural planning and getting all of those pieces in place. We've done a lot of work throughout the summer month with the things that we can do with Health Life Safety dollars. You've seen some new roofs go on. We've seen some entryways that are being improved and built at the Early Learning Center and beginning to start at some other locations soon to get our new entryways in place, only to now do different types of health checks in our entryways that we never designed and thought of. So I think that all of these things are dovetailing nicely at the right time because we've learned about the need for larger spaces for our nurses to operate, isolation rooms, different ways to enter the building to do these types of checks that we never thought we might need to do. So every year you do this job, you learn something new that you need to consider and something that you need to add to your repertoire understanding of how to deal with it. I think that one of the biggest challenges we've had is the having to deal with reduction of size of space for, the CDC rulings and things of that nature. When we're coming back into any in-person model that we talk about, it's about how do we really safely social distance? What kind of tools do we need for our facilities to make that happen? And all of those things have broadened my thinking about our schools and how they look and operate. Alongside that, we have been able to commit to being a one-to-one school district and get a device into every single student's hand that they need to do their learning platforms and to be engaged in school. Remote learning, as it was in the spring, will be different than as we start in this fall. Every child will be asked to log on and be engaged throughout the school day, much like they were attending school. We will take attendance in those classes that are remote, and we will most definitely count the grades and provide homework just like you normally would and should expect of your schooling throughout this. It was a little different in the spring as we were in active God days and getting guidance from our governing body, the Illinois State Board of Education, to provide as much as we possibly could and to engage students. But now it's about just attending school in a different fashion, in a different way. So once again, I think our teachers should be commended. They have really flipped and changed their course of action overnight. I can't be prouder to say that I serve the teachers and students of District 186 at this time. And it is hard to make all these decisions. And I know that each of us on this call has probably had the same, negative impact as well as positive input that we possibly can get in a given day. But just kind of always looking forward to a true north of we are going to get this back on track, and we are here to serve students, and we're doing so in the best of our capability.
Well, great. We appreciate the great work you're doing, especially during this challenging time. And someone else at the high school level is Kara Rapacz, and she's the principal of Sacred Heart Griffin. My tie to that, I did graduate from Griffin High School with regards to that, but we appreciate you taking the time out. And if you would share with us, from the parochial perspective, kind of what Jennifer did and touching on the challenges you're facing and, the size of classes and things of that nature, that would be great.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor. So it's a pleasure to be here with all of you today. My name is Kara Rapacz. I'm the principal of SHG, as Mayor Langfelder mentioned. This is only my 4th year as principal here at this school, your alma mater. But I've been at the school for 13 years. So I've had the opportunity to really get to know the community, get to know exactly what SHG really is all about. I'll echo Jennifer's sentiments that, with all of our training that all of us on this call have been through, there was nothing that we ever learned in college that prepared us for this. So we're just kind of learning as we go. Really, we're relying on our support network. I know our Catholic school system, Bill Moredock, who you're going to talk to in a little bit, we're part of a Springfield community group where we share ideas and really work with one another to try to find the best plans for our own students. So that's been a godsend in this situation. There have been many challenges throughout all of this. Back in March, our staff was, just like all the other teachers in the community, forced to become remote instructors overnight. So, even with all the planning and preparation that we do on a regular basis, that is quite a change when you think, normally you're serving students in your physical classroom, and then you have to be able to turn that all around with no notice and no real formal preparation. So, just like Jennifer, I want to really commend all of our teachers because they have done everything that I could have ever asked and gone above and beyond. I have the pleasure of even having my own children attend SHG, and to see what their teachers have done for them has just been remarkable. So, we continue with those challenges as we move into the fall, and our plan at this point is on Tuesday, we're supposed to start with face-to-face instruction for our school. One of the biggest benefits that SHG has for us is the physical space. We're blessed with a huge building, and a lot of it was not being utilized. So we're able to adhere to the CDC and IDPH guidelines. All of our classrooms are set up with desks separated by 6 feet at least in every classroom. Our students obviously are all required to wear masks. We've got new cleaning protocols in place. We've even changed the structure of our school day to limit exposure time for our students and staff. We're moving to a block schedule for this school year, so our students will actually only attend 4 classes a day. So, you know, our students have been incredible. This summer, I actually hosted an event where I sought feedback from students, staff, parents, and, you know, the students' feedback was that they want to be in school. You know, they miss it. So we wanted to make that happen, but we had to make sure that it was safe. So we're continuing to monitor all of those pieces and do everything that we can to ensure their safety. But on the other side of that, I've got to make sure that my staff is safe as well. So they've been amazing working with me, giving their feedback, and just trying different things to make this a go for next week, because we really want to have these kids in the building. So our mantra for this school year is flexibility and preparation. I mean, as you know, leading this city, things are changing every moment. So we're just trying to stay up on all of the information as it is given to us, and just trying to do everything that we can to uphold what this community stands for, and really just provide our kids and our families with what they deserve.
Well, we appreciate that. And real quick on the safety aspect, how much of a challenge has it been to kind of get the products or the items that you would need to actually put things in place? Has it really been the challenge of that, but also the expense of adding to the educational expense that you normally would see in a normal year?
That has been a tremendous obstacle, I have to be honest. Actually, I was just checking with my maintenance crew this morning, and all of our cleaning supplies were supposed to be delivered yesterday. I mean, we're getting down to the wire, so we've got to make sure that we have all of those things. But even, you know, as far as thermometers to check temperatures when the students get to our building every day, we've spent a lot of our money on PPE and different things like that, just in order to get ready for this school year. But again, it was one of those things, I mean, they're all necessary measures. So we're very blessed to have, our board chair is actually a physician, Dr. Chris McDowell with Memorial, and he has been incredible at helping us kind of navigate through all of this. He's given us some great insight and information to try to help us get the things that we need. And I also have to give a big shout out to our entire board of directors. We've been working the entire summer. Just this week alone, we've got 3 board meetings. So they've given up their time, talent, and treasure to try to help us get to this point. So we're very blessed.
Great. Well, we appreciate it. Next is Glenn Rollins. Glenn is the principal of Lutheran High School, and actually I had a nephew go to Lutheran, but also ties with my daughter. She did go to SHG, played volleyball, but she actually took the summer club team with your coach there, and she's done great work, and we appreciate it. But if you could give us a little background about yourself and the challenges from Lutheran High School, what you're facing and how you're moving forward, and anything else you'd like to share.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate that. This is the start of my 6th year here at Lutheran High School. Some people are familiar that there's a Lutheran school system around the country, and so I've been at other Lutheran schools in different parts of the country. But when you come to what we're all facing here in Springfield, and I've heard it echoed, it's going to echo of all the work that so many people have done and continue to do. Why? Because we care about these kids, and we want to make sure that they're taken care of in so many ways there. Lutheran High School is planning to open with 5 days a week in person as well. We moved our start back a week so that we could make sure that we were ready in every way. So we're starting on the 26th. It's just going to be, you know, really important. We've just been going through, as anybody that you've been talking to here, how many meetings we've had to work through, because we want to make sure that everybody is properly prepared. But we're gonna follow the guidelines issued by the State Board of Education that they were prepared, that said, here's the way that you can be back in person. And those guidelines that are, you know, some of us, I think, were a little bit like, wow, there's this 63-page document, and that didn't count the many emails that followed after that. And everybody's trying to make sure that we take care of those things. But we think that by following that, that's going to help us to safely open 5 days per week and for this school year face-to-face. And I think everybody here knows that there's that data that's out there. We talked about that before. The information from like the CDC that state how imperative it is that kids be back together, learning together in school so that they're progressing educationally and socially and physically. Yeah, our kids have the same thing, man. We can't wait to get back. It was pretty cool to see the cross-country group out there, you know, being together. It's harder with social distancing there, of course, but they're doing the right thing. But and we know for us, though, there are some of our students who aren't able to be coming back physically in person, and so we're going to be providing a live stream feed for those students of the different classes. So that's learning for our teachers in a different way than what we did with remote learning last spring as well. So we really believe that our educational ministry is an essential service, and we use that word during this time of health concern. We're trying to provide that essential service and follow those guidelines, which you talked about getting materials. I'm glad I have a administrative assistant. She knows how to check all the different various places, because we don't buy in bulk quite the way it might happen with 186. So she's got to go and check this out, and sometimes talk with parents and come up with ways so that we can do those things to meet the guidelines. We're also doing some things which, when you talk about a size of a building, well, we're anticipating right now between 130 and 140 students. That allows us to have that physical distancing in classrooms, but we have to do things different. Like for our chapel service, we're not going to have more than 50 people in the chapel, so then it's live streaming to the small groups that we have throughout the building with that. So we talk about a family atmosphere at Lutheran High School. I think everybody feels that way in education, that you're trying to build up that family of kids, whether it be in a classroom or your school. But we're thankful that with our numbers, we're going to be able to try and keep at least 20 students at the max per classroom. And but we're not going to change the number as opposed to what SHG is doing, going to that block. We're gonna try and keep our number of 8-period day. We're gonna do something different with passing period, because we don't want them to all be out in the hallways at the same time. But boy, that is a great discussion with teachers about how we're going to take care of passing periods differently. So it's getting down into the grain that it's tiring and fatiguing. I think all the people that you had here have a different sense of fatigue in this. I've been calling it an unsummer, because it was not really a summer in any way, shape, or form with that. But we're also going to review all of our co-curriculars, of course, and follow the IHSA. But what can we do? Can there be a club meeting, a group together, our tech club, or whatever that would be? So it's our belief that we're going to be able to move forward to teach our students in person with the guidelines that we have. And so we also think that our Lord is going to be our strength, give us the wisdom and knowledge to meet the challenge that we have, so that we can help our students as we want to. And I know that that's a theme for many people, is that we want to be able to continue to help them to move forward during this time.
Well, thank you for those comments. The one thing, and you touched on, I think others have as well, which comes to mind, this question with regards to, there's no manual with regards to the time that we're dealing with. How challenging has it been, or what have you used kind of as the baseline to pull together the policies or what have you, and moving forward in that direction? Because I imagine it's a working document.
It is. It's got to be in pencil, or lots of times Xing things out. We're blessed, and I think with Springfield's Roman Catholic community here, they've been working together. We have Lutheran high schools throughout the state, and I have been in contact with them. But I think that's what a lot of us do, is we're as educators, we're good at seeing what people have done in other places and how can that adapt or not adapt, and then sharing with others. That's really good about educators. We like to share, because we know it's for the good of the community of kids, no matter whether they're at this school, that district, or whatever. So there is an awful lot of that on the fly, but we'll get there.
Well, I appreciate it. And finally, last but not least, our panelist is Doc Moredock. Actually, I knew him. He used to be a counselor at one point at SHG, but also at Little Flower. That's where my children went to school. And he's done a great job being the principal of Little Flower Grade School. So, Doc, if you'd like to share with us anything else about yourself, and then also with regards to Little Flower.
Well, Mayor, thanks for the opportunity to be here on this call today. And as I listen to my colleagues here, I feel the bond with all of them in everything that Kara said, Jennifer, Glenn, and Tiffany before. Never a summer like this before, Mayor. It's been unbelievable as far as the responsibility for our kids and our families, and trying to figure out the best path to helping children and families in our community. It's been a daunting task. It really began back in March when we flipped the switch, and it's continued on to now, trying to figure out how to make it work so that our children don't lose too much. And Little Flower is a medium-sized school on the south side of Springfield, and we're looking to go full starting Monday, full days, 5 days a week. We've had great parent support for doing that. We offer full in-person classes 5 days a week. We also are offering for those families that aren't ready to come back to school in terms of coronavirus and fear of the virus and contracting the virus, we have a remote learning option. About 5% of our families have chosen that option, so it really indicates to me that many more are ready to come back. I think our kids are ready to come back. Parents want them back. Our priority is to do it in a safe manner. And the Illinois State Board of Education, the Diocese of Springfield, Sangamon County Department of Public Health have all gave us guidelines and recommendations and standards to do this in a safe manner. All of my colleagues here have referenced how to do that. It's with distancing, with masks, and with cleaning procedures, disinfecting procedures, and sanitization. We think we have that in place. We've been preparing for it all summer. But as you've said and the other panelists have said, things change every day. So we think we have a great plan. Every Catholic grade school had to come, and the high school had to come up with a reopening plan. And we were each a little bit different. We each have our own building sizes. Lou High is different than SHG, is different than the District 186 buildings. Fortunately, we have a large school and a medium-sized population, so we're able to get that distancing down. It limits us to 20 per classroom or 22 in some of our classrooms. I will say that we've had a lot of interest from different segments of communities outside of Springfield for interest in our schools based on what's going on in their particular districts in terms of remote versus in-person learning. So we've had a lot of that going on in the last month. It's daunting. One other interesting thing, and I think my colleagues here will probably relate to it. We have Zoom meetings with the other principals of the Catholic grade schools, and at the last Zoom meeting, most of them said they're getting like 4 hours of sleep at night. The amount, you go to bed and you wake up in the middle of the night, did I think of this? Did I think of that? These details, the devil's in the details sometimes. And so there's so many aspects of this, and to manage it all is really kind of challenging and stressful.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yep. Well, thank you. And how are you dealing with that stress aspect for yourself?
Who knows I'm a clinical psychologist, and I run every morning, so I'm out at 6 in my
Oh, that's good.
So many people out on the streets now getting exercise. I think that's a good way to do it. That's what helps me and helps me get through it. But it's been never in my whole career have I seen a time, and Jennifer made reference to this. A tornado is a discrete event, and then you move on. This thing unfolds, and you just never know what's around the next bend. So you figure you're feeling that, right? And then you're feeling it, your staff is feeling it, your parents are feeling it, and the kids are. We haven't made too much reference about the kids' stress levels and what they're going to feel like coming into the buildings next week. But it's something I think about a lot.
I think that's what's important is because it does flow down from the adults down to the children. So the more we can reassure them and move in that positive direction, the better. And this question did come in for everybody to answer, and we'll start with Dr. Moredock, and anybody who'd like to jump in can. But it's really, you know, with the student body, you have different students learn at different capacity levels. But really, what about addressing special needs or therapy? Is there a approach that you're using that you might not have done previously with regards to that? So Dr. Moredock, if you'd like to start, and we'll just go around the horn real quick.
Well, I think it touches on the first part of that is where are they when they get here and how much was lost between March and May. So I think what we're doing in our classes, each teacher is going to, and we have the capacity to do it, individually assess where each student is and differentiate and try to meet their needs. In terms of special learning needs, we do have resource teachers here available at the school to provide those, and those are going to go along much the same as they did prior to the remote learning model. So, you know, I think we've got practices and things in place to take care of that. First month, we're going to be doing a lot of reviewing at Little Flower School.
And how about you, Kara, with regards to that?
So I echo exactly what Bill was saying. You know, I mean, I think it's important for all of us to remember that this is a pandemic. So what we're experiencing here in our school or even in this community, it's being felt around the country and at this point around the world. So our staff is paying special attention to readiness, really trying to spend the first several weeks assessing where the students are, because even though we all went to remote learning in March, it was not the same quality of education. And there are a lot of students that missed out on some very key concepts that will impact them moving on to this next school year. So we've got wonderful teachers. Like I said, our mantra this year is flexibility. So it's going to be not like any other school year. You know, I mean, as teachers, I could say this because I am one too. We're very tied to, you know, our type A personality. Our curriculum map says that we need to get through this amount of material, and that's what we like to do. But that's all thrown out the window this year. You know, I mean, we have to really take care of our children, make sure, like Bill Moredock was saying, make sure their mental health is healthy, and make sure that we're meeting the needs that they have, because no child can learn if they don't feel safe and comfortable. So it's just this, you know, kind of full, well-rounded approach to education.
And Jennifer, would you like to add to that? And I know you have multiple levels of grade school all the way up to high school.
Yes. And I think, you know, every single one of our buildings looks differently. So that's another, save like Franklin, Jefferson, and Washington, they all kind of look the same, but the rest of our schools. So not only do we have a challenge with designing a system that's going to be effective for our entire district, but every school looks a little more individualized on that issue as well. I think the original question was about how we're serving our students with special needs. And that's a big part of our school district. We actually assist all of the principals here with their services through proportionate share to really provide those special needs. And that's extremely important. And we have a individual remote learning plan for every child, as well as an individual education plan for, you know, kind of what we would consider a normal school day. But we've also addressed those to make sure that we're providing those if we're in a remote setting as well. And that's been a very important piece of this, because services may have to look different. If some students are medically fragile and cannot attend school for risk of exposure during this pandemic, you know, the things that we are doing to make sure that we serve all students really range pellet therapy services all the way to being able to provide some of those in-person services as well. I'm very thankful for our medical community. I know, Carrie, you mentioned that as well. We have a lot of people who have really reached out to us. The Mosaic program, which does provide some support for students in terms of social, emotional, and also mental health needs, have really stepped up and said that they'll do their services remotely as well and serve students across our schools in District 186, and I'm sure our broader community. I've been very just totally thankful for my social workers and my school psychologists who have come together with all of our other behavioral specialists in the district to make sure that the student social emotional learning needs are met as well, whether it's in a hybrid setting or a remote setting. So once again, I think we are going to have to assess, as all the other administrators have said, really decide what are our priority standards, what do we need to focus on with our curriculum, not only do future growth, but also catch-up growth at this point in time. And then making sure that we're still operationalizing all of our advanced placement classes, our dual credit structures, everything we need to do to help our high school students get to their next step as well. We have a lot of students out there that are unsure about, what's the next step for them. We have kids that are entering college this year that are wondering about the next steps, or those that are already enrolled and what they're doing. So we know that we need to make sure that we're not dropping back on any of those course offerings, and making sure that all kids feel that they have what they need. And that truly is the definition of equity, providing everything that a child needs to them, whether it's in a in-person or a remote setting.
Good points. And then Glenn, anything you'd like to add to that with regards to special needs or meeting the needs of students of varying degrees?
I think, a lot of things would be repeated. We're blessed to have a group called Lutheran Special Education Ministries that we work with to help provide those specific special needs. And as we assess and see if there are more students who need to go into that, the young woman that's working with us this year has to be particularly attuned to the fact that there is this stuff that's out there, and how do you pull through that to even get to the special needs issues. And then go back to what Kara said exactly. I said this yesterday to our faculty in our meeting, is you're not going to be teaching curriculum. I didn't say throughout the curriculum map, just to make sure that's clear. But I'm kidding, but the reality is we're going to spend a lot of time get back into what it's like to be in a classroom, to be in that small family group of the classroom, and learning what it is to learn again in a face-to-face setting, and just being there for kids, because sometimes they put up, especially in the high school, they put up that brave face, but there's a lot of anxiety that is out there, and everybody here knows that we're dealing with that. We're like I said, we're essential workers of a different sort in the triage and trying to figure out what's going on, and then prescribing how best to help the young people that the Lord has given to all of us in all of our different roles. So it's going to be another learning year, that's for sure.
And we'll go reverse order, but one question is with regards to parents or volunteers. I know with any school, that's an important component of that. And so as you're going through the year, whether it's remote or hybrid or in class during these challenging times, how can parents or volunteers help bridge the education gap, especially with historically marginalized populations and those that need additional support, especially, if you do have to go to the remote learning aspect, how do you keep people plugged in and engaged from the volunteer standpoint? So Glenn, if you'd start, and then we'll go reverse if that's all right. Jennifer, Kara, and then Doc Moredock.
I think initially that for us, because we're face-to-face, that's going to be something we're going to be a little bit more protective of how many people we have on campus. We're going to be watching for that. As a matter of fact, we have a band program with our 2 Lutheran grade schools in the area. This year, we're not going to be able to do that. We're not going to send our band person there. It's just tough to put someone else extra into it. But I think the volunteers, there are people who want to help, just as you were asking there. And I'm not sure exactly how we're going to get to that point. I guess I'm just going to be thankful that there are people who are seeing they've been gifted to help, and how are we going to be able to plug them in? We'll have to work on that in a way that's safe and prudent.
Yep. Jennifer?
We have volunteers in every single school across the district. And I mentioned earlier that, we've really tried to repurpose our volunteers to help us with some of the meal delivery and things that can be less of a contact situation, but something where they can pick up and then drop and go, and try to utilize their services as much as possible. We have a lot of our college students in town, whether they attend Lincoln Land or UIS, that provide us tutoring under our AVID program. And we are looking at how we can do that remotely so that the kids can still feel like they have that tutoring opportunity with a university student, but yet have that be a safe way for both the college student and the students that are receiving that service. So I think we just are going to need to always, and I think it's to Kara's flexibility point, everything right now has to be flexible, and we have to think about things differently and make sure that we're ready to support. But having volunteers come into our school buildings right now is going to be difficult. My father, is a redcoat at Memorial Medical Center, and he has done that for years. It's one of the things he looked forward to the most, is going in and helping others and being in camaraderie with the other volunteers. And at this point in time, you just have to say it's not safe for all of the individuals who used to come into our school to do that at the same level that they used to. But we wish them well, and we want to continue to work with them. So we will see the other side of this crisis, and we hope that those volunteers will still be there and want to serve our students, because we are, our outpouring of thanks to them can't be said enough, and we don't want to lose them or make them think that they're not welcome. But right now we do have to protect everyone, including the volunteers themselves.
Great. Kara? Anything to add?
Well, as Glenn mentioned, I mean, we're having to limit, and Jennifer too, any volunteers that typically would have come into our building. And I feel like everybody in this community knows volunteers at SHG are a huge part of who we are. I mean, we would never have our must chili dinner without the thousands of volunteers. But what we're having to do this year is shift that focus to the idea that education is a community effort. And, what we're asking volunteers in this community to do is to reinforce safety guidelines with our students, because truthfully, it doesn't matter how careful we are inside this building if students are not adhering to the safety guidelines when they're outside of these walls. So, we're actually working on a pledge that our students and our parents can sign, saying that they are willing to adhere to all of the safety guidelines, both in the building but outside of the building. So we're asking anyone that's associated with our school or just with our community, if you see young people out there, just try to reinforce how important it is for them to wear their mask, stay socially distanced, because we want in-person education for everyone. And if we don't follow the rules, we won't be able to provide it. So that's really how we're leaning on our community and our volunteers at this point.
Thank you. And then Doc, anything to add to all that?
Not a lot. I think they hit on most of the things. We've got to restrict the number of volunteers in our building. So we're going to have them be out on our playground during recess times and such. We have a lot of volunteers are a main part of our school. We got the men's club coming out to do a work day on our campus this weekend. A lot of those guys, Mayor, they'll be here, and they'll continue to volunteer for us. We also have explored the idea of the remote tutoring through volunteers, and I think that's an exciting way. So many of our kids during the last during the shutdown, a number of our kids, especially students that didn't have access to the kind of technology or the robust Wi-Fi systems, we will utilize volunteers to definitely reach out and connect with those kids who are most vulnerable to not being engaged in the academic process. So we've got those plans in the works, but volunteers are part of every school, an important part, and we plan to continue fostering those relationships.
Well, I appreciate those comments. And if we would each take a few moments to wrap it up, if you will, and then I'll wrap it up at the end. And I thank each and every one of you for participating. I think it's been enlightening. I'm sure the dialogue will continue as we're trying to work through this whole pandemic, and especially through the school year. So Dr. Bill Moredock, if you'd like to start, and then we'll go Kara, Jennifer, and with Glenn, and I'll wrap it up.
Well, I really enjoyed being on this call with all of you. Today, Bishop Paprocki led a rosary from the cathedral and broadcast out right before our call here for the health and safety of all in the Springfield community as we approach the beginning of the school year. I think that's what we all want. We all want our kids to be healthy and safe, our families, and education is a big part of that process. So, it's a daunting task, but we're going to get through it. There will be an end to this, and we just need to manage and maintain and stay steady through all of it with God's help.
Thank you. Kara?
Absolutely. And just to continue on those thoughts, I mean, this is not a public versus private situation. This is a pandemic that we're all doing our very best to get through. And we would not make any decisions that we didn't feel would inhibit safety of anyone involved. So, we're going to continue to monitor what's happening in our community and focus on that this is a community effort. So we want the best for everyone in this community, for our children, for our staff, for everybody. So we will get through it, as Bill said, and it'll be by the grace of God that we do that successfully and in a healthy manner.
Well, thank you very much. Jennifer?
Thank you.
Once again, it's an honor to be here today, and thank you for asking me to be on to share a little bit about how we've kind of developed our plan and received input. We're a large, messy system, as I've always said. We look at that as something that we're proud of. However, it is hard to deal with every angle from all of our pre-K learners all the way through our adult learners, and we are tasked to do so. And I know that, our school board is meeting this Thursday night, and we will be delivering a plan on Monday night. Kara talked about many board meetings. We've, of course, have had that. And at this point in time, I'd just like to thank my school board for listening to the constituents in their areas and their community and reporting back to me what they're hearing. And then also just thanks to the community at large for supporting the initiatives that we put forth and the plans that we have in place. And our goal is to serve our students the best that we possibly can each and every day, whether it's in a remote setting or in a hybrid blended remote setting. These are different times in which we live. And with the one-to-one technology that we're going to be able to provide and the remote services and the connectivity that we're going to be able to provide our students, we'll be ready for whatever it is that we face in the coming months. And it's always a changing and fluid situation with this. And so none of us know what to prepare for next, but we just always wake up every day and get ready to serve our community and to serve our students to the best of our abilities. Sometimes that means making hard decisions and making decisions that may not be pleasant to some groups. We're not going to be perfect on everything we do, but we will make thoughtful decisions. And our ultimate goal for all of us is to get back to where we were just 6 months ago. And we plan on doing that. And once again, thank you for having us on board, and thank you to our community in general.
Thank you. And Glenn?
Yes,
thanks for being here.
Sure. Thank you for the invite. And I hope the people who are watching heard of, we're representing some of I don't know what the number is, a couple thousand people in the Springfield area who really, really care and are putting so much of themselves into how to make sure that the young people of the Springfield area continue to move forward, continue to learn about themselves so they can go and be part of this wonderful place here. I'm just thankful that we have so many people who are so committed to this service in this area, and we're all blessed, and we will keep moving forward so that we can get past this, and it'll be all right. All of those things, they sound kind of trite, but we know in our heart that together we can get that to happen. So thanks again for everybody's work here and for letting us be part of it today.
Yeah, thank you for participating. I think today showed the strength of our community on the educational aspect, and we really appreciate your leadership in moving through these challenging times. And it was touched upon is, of course, with the pandemic, there's something new every day. But what you can take to heart is with our leadership, with our teachers, for my own family, I think Kara and others have touched on this, our educational system is like a family. I have family members that go to the public schools, the private schools, and so I can really speak to the heart of it, that the teachers all the way up to the administration, they are really taking thoughtful care in how we get through this pandemic and making sure we're reassuring to our young people and making sure we're keeping them healthy, health-wise, but also mind-wise and all aspects of life. So remember, each and every day, the goal is to make today better than yesterday and tomorrow better than today. And we strive each and every day to do that. And we appreciate everybody's support in keeping each other healthy. And remember those guidelines: social distancing, wearing your face covering if you're coming in close contact to others, and washing your hands. But most importantly, as importantly, respect and honor one another, and we'll get through this together and be a stronger community in the end. So hopefully you'll join us next Wednesday for Facebook Live, and we will bring you that subject matter later on this week. So thank you for participating, and hopefully you'll tune in again next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.